Okay, let's get into the Patton speech. This is a just like Malcolm X speech was a direct comparison to Martin Luther King. We have that was two speeches about civil rights. Now we have a direct comparison. It's very different, obviously, but we have two speeches concerning World War II. Uh, yeah, um, and we already went over the Churchill speech. The purpose is very different, but again, just like Malcolm X speech was almost opposite of um, Martin Luther King's, this one is too. But they're all very effective in their own way. So that's why we're showing you different speeches to show you that there's not one right way to do it, right? As long as you're using the rhetorical devices appropriately. Now, I do need to start with a kind of a little bit of a warning. Um, so the Patton speech is censored, and I don't usually do this. In fact, there's only two times with literature that I've censored it. This is one. Let me just read through this. For the following speech has been censored for high school viewing. While the publisher of this speech, that's me, is generally against censorship, he's also against getting fired from his job that he loves and wishes to continue doing for another 22 and a half more years. On the other hand, the publisher of the speech also believes that there's great value in reading the speech, especially in its censored form. It gives students an opportunity to analyze the effects of diction on a speech and the importance of knowing and speaking to one's audience. So, for one, it's easy to find the original speech. So if you want to see what it is, that's your choice. I can't stop you from doing that. Two, it also helps us see how silly the speech becomes when we censor it, right? Like the words he used were appropriate and really almost necessary, I would argue, to get the message across to that specific audience. He's not writing high school kids. That's why he uses that kind of language, right? um, so I've censored it, and I've also censored it in a way where you could pretty much figure out, what he was trying to say. um, but this speech in its original form would not be appropriate for high school students to hear, especially freshmen, but it was exactly what American soldiers needed to hear before D-Day. If you have any questions or concerns about me teaching this, send all your hate mail to dkramer@hbuhsd.edu. Thank you for your time. So this is Invasion of Normandy. This is right before D-Day in England, May 17, 1944. And here's what he says. And again, I'm not trying to do a caricature of his voice. I just read it how it sounds to me as my eyes go across the words. Right. Men, this stuff some sources swing around about America wanting to stay out of the war and not wanting to fight is a lot of baloney. Of course, America stayed out of World War II for a long time, right? It wasn't until Pearl Harbor. Um, and so, and there was certainly some lashback, but he's starting. I mean, he's talking to a bunch of soldiers that are there purposely to fight, that enlisted, right? Americans love to fight traditionally. All real Americans love the sting and clash of battle. America loves a winner. America will not tolerate a loser. Americans despise a crowd. Americans play to win. That's why America has never lost and will never lose a war. Now, that's since not proven not true, but yeah, at the time. Okay, so he certainly has a lot of repetition of the word America, Americans, America. It's not quite. He's not trying to put together an elegant speech like Martin Luther King or some of the other ones. So he's purposely not using, or maybe doesn't even know about parallel structure. So this is not parallel structure, I don't think, because all the structure is very kind of mixed here. Okay. I mean, America loves a winner. Americans, no, even that's not the same. Yeah. So there's no parallel structure, but certainly the repetition of the word America. This is all, of course, ethos. He's talking to a bunch of soldiers. He's bringing up all the patriotism. America, yeah. We love to fight. Well, yeah, that's why they're there. So it's appropriate to bring up this kind of patriotic type of rhetoric, right? Uh, oh, sorry, did I say ethos? Yes, of course, it's going to build up his ethos. I mean, he's Patton. Let's just get that right off the bat. But pathos is what I meant to say. When the soldiers hear, like, yeah, America is never going to lose, they're going to fight. Yeah, of course, it's pathos. Okay, and it'll build up his ethos a little bit. Any general that's saying that kind of thing, but they already respect him. He's already Patton. He's the most respected general, at least by the military. We'll talk about how other people feel about him in a little bit. But sorry that I got that one wrong. If you're taking notes, write down pathos and maybe a little bit of ethos, but it's mostly pathos. America, right? You're not all going to die. Only 2% of you right here would be killed in a major battle. Death must not be feared. Death in time comes to all of us. That's kind of logos, a tiny bit, right? Like you shouldn't fear death because it's going to come to everyone anyway. Okay, that A equals B, B equals C. And every man is scared in his first action. If he's not, he's a gosh darn liar. You can see how that just wouldn't fly with American soldiers. Like it just didn't sound right, to say that. Gosh darn it, in front of a bunch of soldiers who are about to, uh, go to major, major, major battle. Some men are cowards, yes, but they fight just the same or get the heck slammed out of them. Now, this is where I should mention a little bit of history. So at this point, Patton had already gotten into trouble. He was a very charismatic person, speaker, character. He was the kind of guy that he didn't just uh, stand in the sidelines, and send people to war. Like he would go down and get into the battle, and uh, the, this, you know, uh, and, and some of this. Well, okay, I'll just leave it at that. But he would go visit the uh, soldiers in the tents, right? Like the hurt soldiers. And there was an incident where he went to visit someone, and basically the soldier, wasn't injured. He just said, I can't go back out there, because I'm scared or something like that. And Patton slapped him. And so that's why he says, get the heck slammed out of them. But he got in trouble for that. So he wasn't, he was basically his control of the army was taken away, and he's not supposed to be here right now. They're going to mention that as well. It was a big, publicity fiasco, story of the week kind of thing. Uh, the real hero. Okay, so that'll be, that's a joke, right? Because every soldier would have known about that, and so he's like, if you're a coward, you're gonna get the heck slammed out of you, because these soldiers are macho and they're like ready for fighting, and they, you know, so that pathos. Anytime you're telling a joke or telling something that's designed to get the audience riled up or to laugh, that's pathos. The real hero is the man who fights even though he's scared. Okay, pathos, right? Like this is his pump up speech. He's trying to get people pumped up, like, you know, you're a real man. Americans love to fight. It's okay to be scared, but you're gonna go fight anyway. Kind of thing. Some get over their fright in a minute under fire. Others it takes an hour. For some it takes days. But a real man will never let the fear of death overpower his honor, sense of duty to his country and to his manhood. There might be a tiny bit of logos, but that's all pathos, right? When you're talking to male soldiers about manliness and honor and all that stuff, okay? But it's what these soldiers needed right before this battle. All through your army careers, you've been complaining about what you call chicken feces drills. That, like everything else in the army, has a definite purpose. That purpose is instant obedience to orders and to create and maintain constant alertness. Okay, we have logos. He's explaining like what was the purpose of those drills. We needed to do that because this result. Okay. If not, this must be bred into every soldier. A man must be alert all the time if he expects to stay alive. If not, some German son of a gun will sneak up behind him with a sock full of feces. There are four 100 neatly marked graves somewhere in Sicily, all because one man meant to sleep on his job. But they're German graves because we caught the illegitimate sons asleep. It's all pathos. Maybe a man must be alert if he expects to stay alive. There's a little logos, right? But the whole thing, when he's giving examples, Germans and using an expletive feces, that's designed to get a laugh. And then when he says, "But there were German, 400 people died, but there were German deaths. We got them." Yeah, it's all pathos. It's all designed to get them, the soldiers pumped up. And an army is a team. Lives, sleeps, fights, and eats as a team. This individual hero stuff is a lot of manure. The bilious, illegitimate sons who write that kind of stuff for the Saturday Evening Post don't know any more about real fighting under fire than they know about intercourse. That's funny. So it's going to be pathos, but it's also ad hominem. Obviously, he's attacking, but he's addressing things that people say, in the news. But again, this wasn't designed to be a public speech. It's designed just for the soldiers, to say, we're a team. It's just us. Like everyone else, nobody understands what we go through. Nobody understands that stuff. But we do because we're out here, fighting that kind of thing. Every single man in the army plays a vital role. Every man has a job to do and must do it. What if every truck driver decided that he didn't like the whine of a shell overhead, turned yellow, and jumped headlong into a ditch? What if every man thought, they won't miss me, just one in millions? Where the heck would we be now? Where would our country, our loved ones, our homes, and the world be? Okay, so from here, can I highlight? From here to here, I mean, maybe even here. That's all logos. So he does have, as much as most of this is pathos, he does have a bit of logos stuck in there. If you think you're just going to be one deserter, oh, they won't miss me, it won't be a big deal. Um, well, what if everybody thought that, right? Uh, what if you think, oh, it's just one person? But no, we need every single person is really important. And he's going to get into this even more in a few minutes. But then once we get to where would we be now, where would our country, our loved ones, our homes? Okay, notice he used the word homes, right? Uh, Not houses. We talked about the difference between houses and homes. He's using a word that has more connotation. But once you start talking about country and loved ones and homes and the world, that's all pathos, right? And appropriately, this is what you need to do to a bunch of soldiers. You need to get them pumped up, right? No, thank God that Americans don't live like that. You could call that ethos, to appeal to religious people, but it's more of an expression, I think. I don't think it's specifically used for that, but maybe. Uh, every man does his job, serves the whole. Ordnance men supply and maintain guns and vast machinery of this war to keep us rolling. Quartermasters bring up clothes and food for where we're going. There isn't a heck of a lot to steal. Every last man on KP, kitchen patrol, has a job to do. Even the guy who boils the water to keep us from getting the GI runs, right? He's boiling the water uh, so they don't get giardias. That's a giardia. It's a bacteria in the water if you just drink from a stream. So don't ever just drink from a stream. You have to filter the water or boil it. Kill everything. But again, it's all logos, right? He's taken us through all the different positions and the jobs they have and why they're so important and why no one should give up and abandon post or why everybody should respect everybody else. He's trying to get everybody to work together as a unit. So there's a little bit of pathos there, but mostly logos. Remember, men, you don't know I'm here. So again, this is, he's not supposed to be over there. He's not allowed, but he went anyway. Now, this is going to build up a lot of his ethos, right? No mention of that is to be made in any letters. Like, luckily back then they didn't have cell phones, people taking video of this, but you could write it in a letter. The USA is supposed to be wondering what the heck happened to me. I'm not supposed to be commanding this army. I'm not even supposed to be in England. Let the first illegitimate sons to find out be the gosh darn Germans. I want them to look up and howl, "Ike! It's the gosh darn Third Army and that son of a gun Patton again." He probably did some kind of racist German accent. I'm guessing, but again, it's all pathos, right? To get them pumped up. But most of this is ethos. Most of this is like, hey, I'm not supposed to be here, but I'm willing to risk, whatever it is, his job or whatever, just to be here so I can talk to you. Like, oh, this guy's awesome. It's building up his ethos. We want to uh, get this thing over and get the heck out of here and get those racist slur Japanese people. And it's not necessary to write the words in there. Again, it's absolutely not appropriate, to hear things like that in high school English class. Was it appropriate to get his soldiers, ready to fight the next day? I think there's a time and a place for all language. A lot of times it's not where high school students think it is, right? But this is a perfect example of, it's designed to get the job done, to get them pumped up, fired up, ready to fight hard, because that's what he needs them to do. Outside of that situation, I don't condone any racial slurs at all. The shortest road home is through Berlin and Tokyo. Kind of logic, like, going back towards our home is much faster to just go around the world. Like, to just keep going, go right through the Germans and right through Japan. We'll win this war, but we'll win it only by showing the enemy we have more guts than they have or ever will have. Pathos, all pathos. There's one great thing you men can say when it's all over and you're home once more. You can thank God, again, maybe ethos, that 20 years from now, when you're sitting around the fireside with your grandson on your knee and he asks what you did in the war, you won't have to shift him to the other knee and cough and say, "I shoveled feces in Louisiana." Now you're like, that's a really weird way to end the speech. Well, okay, let me explain the joke. So, why would you have to be shuffling feces in Louisiana? Because you're in a chain gang shoveling feces. Right? You're in prison for desertion. You get arrested if you desert your army, desert your post. Okay, but this is all pathos, because the idea of a grandson, like, that's like it's kind of an old fashioned idea, but way back in the day, that was like the dream of a military, soldier, is that, they serve their country, they feel proud, of fighting for their country, and they can tell their grandkids, like, I fought in this war, and I was defending my country and I was fighting for our rights, and but the opposite of that, like the embarrassment you feel, is like, "Granddad, what did you do in the military?" "Oh, well, and he's embarrassed and having to shift around and put him on the other knee and cough because he's embarrassed about it. "Well, I was actually shoveling beasties down in Louisiana. Apparently, there's a prison down there where they all go." But that's embarrassing. So that's going to be your pathos. Okay. So that's it. It's very quick. It's very short. But the main thing that I want to impress upon you is the use of diction, the use of words that really aren't appropriate in very many other settings, especially when you talk about an academic, environment like at school. But they're exactly what was needed. What those, uh, you know, the military needed to hear before going to war. That's it does exactly what it's supposed to do. Um, and so, not a lot of rhetorical devices, some imagery. Certainly, anytime he, tells us a made up story about like Germans, or they're going to look up and see him, and it's Patton, right? Um, that's some imagery. You know, the graves, the 400 graves, that's imagery. I mean, even this thing at the end here, grandson, that's imagery, right? Um, but I also want to point out that like he's got some legitimate logic, right? Uh, he's also appealing to the military's, you know, understanding of we all need to fight as a team, and he gives specific examples. So that's kind of some imagery there, right? Truck drivers and that kind of thing. Um, but the main thing is the tone is very different than the other ones. It's very informal. It goes so far as to say derogatory, which means he's using, you know, inappropriate language. Um, Short, quick sentences. That's a syntax, right? Easy to understand. Plenty of ad hominem. That would be your uh, rhetorical device that he's using there. Um, and I don't think. Oh, does he use a rhetorical question? I feel like there might have. Here we go. Yeah, what would happen if? That's a rhetorical question. Sorry, I missed that one. Yeah. Uh, but you know, famous, powerful speech. Did what it needed to do. It's got some humor in there. Any humor would be pathos. Okay. So yeah, that's about it. We will move on uh, to other things tomorrow. And if there's anything I missed, if there's anything you didn't fill in the chart, um, you know, we'll go over that the next time you have class. And just make sure to have like the first five filled out. You know, who's the speaker? Like look up a little information, Wikipedia. You know, Patton, that kind of thing, and the speech that he gave. Shouldn't be too hard to find. Okay, thanks.